get into that.
You were getting into the music a little bit, weren't you? I know.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the same thing, to be honest with you. Then
I didn't think it was as long. I thought it'd be shorter, but it's all good.
Well, I thought it was longer when I was putting it together, so clearly now it's not. But
okay,
yeah, welcome to the show. This is the next sort of inaugural show that we've been putting on this week. This is going to be the Thursday preview show with myself, Gary, and also my esteemed colleague Chris.
Good evening.
Esteemed. Not steamed. That was last night. Honestly, mate, as much as nervous as we get, like, you never know. Last night might be another occurrence. And for those of you who didn't see last night, if you go to about 15 minutes, 20 minutes in, Chris dashes off, or I later found out was a
technical difficulty. Just a technical difficulty. Live television. Dinner didn't sit very well, I don't think, and couldn't pause the show, and the show must go on, Gary.
I was going to say bowel malfunction, but if you want to say technical difficulty, we can call it that.
Technical difficulty for now until people get to know us a little bit better.
Lad left me on the air looking like Garth off Wayne's World, backing into my seat. It was terrible. I honestly, fair play to the people that stayed on and watched it while I was talking on my own, trying to pad the time. But
you'll be fine.
No, we're professionals, aren't we? But again, listen, thanks for tuning in to everybody who's on now and who's going to watch it later as well. Please, we'd love it if you could like or subscribe the channel. It's on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. It's at EPL Across the Pond. If you can get on there and give us a little bit of a follow or a subscribe, that'd be brilliant. And then also, during the course of the night, if you feel perturbed or you agree with something we say, you can fire something into the comments, and we'll, if it's respectful and if it's something we feel like it's worth talking about, we'll definitely bring it up. It's like last night, someone fired into the comment, or I saw it this morning, mate. The YouTube comment, someone went, "Yeah, actually, it wasn't a Panini sticker book when we were talking about the World Cup. It was something else." So
all this, I got caught in the moment. I just got nostalgia when, and we were talking about the past, and it was just, well, it started with Panini, doesn't it? Everything started with those Panini sticker books from the 80s.
Well, that's it, isn't it? But we're not talking about the World Cup today, are we? We're talking about the Premier League, and I think, just so people know and understand, is that I think the premise of this show on a Thursday is to give you a little bit of a taster of maybe what's happened in the week. There's a couple of things that have definitely happened this week that I'm sure we'll get into as we go, and then just give a little bit of a taste of what's coming up in the games this weekend. And also, we are working on our resident fantasy football expert, but he's not with us this week, so you're going to get stuck with me and Chris. And does
he have technical difficulties tonight? Has he got a few technical issues, or is he?
We'll call it technical issues, okay, mate. Yeah, but he's got a lot going on. But he's like the wizard of fantasy football. So he's got a lot for us as well. Maybe you can explain to me, while every single time I try and put Voltamari on my team, he absolutely does nothing. So, but we'll get to that a little bit later on. But first off, before we start with the themes that we were going through, what's your take on the Prem this season? Like, I know it's a bit of a late start for us in February the 19th, but what have you seen? What are your major takeaways from the season so far?
I think it's been one of the most exciting Premier League seasons in many a year. And I say that because if you look at the gap between the top and the bottom, there's so much to play for. Okay, Arsenal ran away with it for a little bit. Now the wheels are starting to fall off a bit. But there's teams that came up, Sunderland, everybody had them probably one of their favourites to go down. They've kind of held their own this season. I think they're in 11th right now. And they're only 6 points or a couple of wins away from getting in the top 4. So it's such an exciting, compact league. Spurs falling down the league again, potentially could go down, get caught into that mix and everything. But I think it's exciting. And you always find these, Gary, if you look back on World Cup years, that year before the World Cup happens, it's just an elevated year of football. I think there's more goals, there's more surprises. Players are going all out to try and make those squads with themselves. But to me, it's been a really exciting year of football so far. What about yourself?
Do you think that's just, on that point about the World Cup, do you think that's just
coincidental?
Doesn't it annoy you more? Like, why can't you do this all the time?
It's good for the game. It's good for the excitement of the game and everything. And also, I think fans are more involved as well, because there's something at the end of the season to look forward to, as opposed to, I don't want to talk about the World Cup too much, but we get to the summers, it's normally like, all right, we did this, we did that. Then the focus is on for next year. it's not the focus on for next year after this season. So they've got a lot more to play for. And to be honest, guys, February, March, it's the most exciting time of the year for the football season anyway, because you got the knockout stages of European competitions. You got the kind of the money side of the FA Cup that's getting there as well. And it's all to play for European positions in the league. And also the title race is it's going to go down to the wire, I think, this year.
Yeah, it's definitely starting to take shape. I was just going to say the same thing as you then. Like this February is like February, March is when you really start to see things, don't you? Like you have the first cup final of the season with the Carabao Cup, and the two teams in it are fighting each other in the league as well. So I would equate this season, the Prem this season, is a lot like the Championship is every season for me. And for those of people who follow the Championship, it's streaky. Like you look at teams at the moment, like Man United are flying at the moment, and they've jumped up the league a little bit. Man City are on a bit of a run, aren't they? They find their feet, they jumped up a little bit. Arsenal, who were, listen, you only have to watch Arsenal TV to know how enthusiastic they were about Arsenal's chances around Christmas. But you go on a little bit of a run. Like Liverpool were, again, biased, but Liverpool were, 11th or 12th before Christmas, and they've gone on this little bit of a run, albeit not won a ton of games, but it got them back in the chat for the Champions League places. So you're right. And we'll get to it again. Like West Ham, same thing. They were dead.
About to say West Ham.
3 or 4 weeks. Yeah, 3 or 4 weeks ago were dead, but now they're right back in it, and we'll get to it. But there's every chance they could really, really be back into it after this weekend. But yeah,
I think one of my concerns was at the start of the season, the 3 teams go up are going to be the 3 teams that go straight back down. And I think when we looked at the paper and you looked at, none of them were really signing decent players or spending a lot of money. That was my biggest concern at the start, that those teams would come straight up, go straight back down, and there'd be a bigger gap. Because each year you think there's a bigger gap between what comes up to what stays up and what potentially can stay in the league. And I thought the gap would be bigger between 17th and 18th, but it's not. It's exciting, it's close, and you've got 3-4 teams down there that weren't those teams that came up last year, which makes it exciting. Okay, Wolves and Burnley are pretty much gone, I think, which, unfortunately, but Wolves weren't a team that came up. They've hung around for a little bit of time as well. So now it's exciting, because it's always good to see a few teams that do come up stay up, at least for a season or two.
Yeah, no, and you see it happens now. The likes of Brentford, who, again, I think I had at the beginning of the season, I had Burnley, Brentford and Sunderland to go down. And now I look like an absolute muppet who doesn't know anything about football. But, and that might still be the case. And I'm sure people would say the same thing. But it's true, isn't it? It's just been very unpredictable. And I think, although the World Cup is definitely a factor, if you look at the league now, and I would imagine with the European places that are going to be on offer at the end of the season, especially, again, if it's Arsenal, Man City in the Cup, the Carabao Cup final, that means there'll be an extra spot gifted to somebody in lower down the league. Anyone down to probably 8th has got a chance of getting into some European competition. And if you look at 8th, Everton are on 37 points, joint with Bournemouth, 8th and 9th. If you could go down as far. Honestly, I would go down to as far as Leeds.
There'll be a creeper team, mate. There'll be a creeper team. Okay, Forest, for example, last year at the start of the season, they were predicted to go down or be in the bottom half. And they were top 4 for the majority of the season. It wasn't until the last couple of games of the season they dropped out, but still got European football. There's going to be a creeper team that nobody would have predicted at the start of the season. We could have that. We could have that as a campaign, couldn't we? Who do you think your creeper team is going to be that sneaks into one of those European? Write that down, Gary. Good boy. One of those teams that sneaks in the last, could be the last game of the season. That everyone's watching the games all at the same time, and somebody scores a 94th minute winner or equaliser to qualify them for Europe, and it could be Everton. You never know. It could be Everton.
Yeah, could be. That's about as far as I go with that one. Sorry to any Everton fans there, but
just setting you up.
I will say that. I will say this. It definitely is exciting, but we won't dwell on it too much because we'll move on to our first topic that we were going to talk about. Similar to what we've done in the past, what we're going to try and do is every time we cover a topic, before we do that, we're going to throw a little question at you. So if we can get a couple of people firing into the comments with answers, or again, the people who get closest to the right answer can jump in, and maybe we'll give them a little bit of a shout out. So the first question of the night is going to be, name the top 5 free kick takers in the history of the Premier League.
Ooh.
So And you know what's funny? I know the answer to this because I needed to put it onto the thing, but some of them aren't as obvious as you think. And you do have to look over the full history of the Prem to see some of these names. So that's a little bit of a gift for you. But yeah, name the top 5 free kick takers in the history of the Premier League. We'll come back to that in about probably 5 minutes or so. So the first point I had, mate, was we've had one midweek game this week. And I'm, again, for whatever reason, one reason or another, everybody's involved in it because it was Arsenal playing at Wolves Wednesday night, raining, which, turned out to be one of the excuses, I think, for a certain fan base. But finished 2-2. Arsenal were 2-0 up. Wolves scored 2 in the last 30 minutes. Maybe they get a 96th minute equaliser. What's your take on that?
From a neutral's point of view, it's a cracking game of football. I remember watching the stands before the ground, and the stadium wasn't really full at all. I thought, oh, maybe Wolves fans have just given up, right? They've gone for the destiny, and they're thinking we're going down and all that kind of thing. But there was a bit of fight in there last night, and Arsenal were very, very good for the first, say, half an hour, but they didn't kill the game. And one of the things that you'll see the Arsenal TV people say after the games is they just don't kill those games off. And they were cruising, and Wolves' goal came out of nowhere. It was a fantastic strike. And then you knew the last 30 minutes, they just crumbled. They literally just crumbled. And it's a shock. And if you're that team that's out there trying to win the league, would a Liverpool have crumbled like that? Would an old school United crumbled like that? Or even a Man City crumbled like that? Because Pep's good at defending leagues, but he's also very good at knowing what to do in those positions. He knows that Wolves are going to go all at it, but they just sat back, and you could tell at the end that, almost just watch the second goal. It's panic station from the defenders. It's panic station from the goalkeeper, and everyone's blaming each other after it happens. And it was comical almost.
Yeah. Do you know, it's one of those things that there's a couple of things in there, like that goal. If anyone's ever been to a ground in England or anywhere really, and the crowd's on and the weather's like that, and they score a goal like that's got significance, whether it's a last-minute equaliser or a last-minute winner, they are the best goals. Like, ball comes into the box, goalie collides with the centre-half, the ball breaks, it gets blocked, then someone hits a shot, it hits 2 people, it's the post and goes in.
Ball on the way in.
The place goes bananas. I mean, as a Wolves fan, whether you're going, I mean, listen, Wolves are gone. Let's not lie to ourselves. But as a Wolves fan yesterday, it must have been pandemonium in Molineux. And just to experience that would have been brilliant. And it kind of brings me on to the next point, and we can go back to Arsenal as well. But do you think Rob Edwards going in there, being a Wolves man, really, as a player and has been around it as well, like, do you think he's taking steps to kind of galvanise that club again, albeit they're going to go down, but is he putting steps in play now to bring them back up after one season?
I don't think when he's gone in there, I don't think the conversation with the owners have been, you've got to keep us up. You've got enough games. There's plenty of points still available. Do your best. I think the building program is going to be for next summer. They've already started looking at, okay, realistically, who's going to be around, who's not going to be around. What do you need to bring? What do you need? This is the assessment time, right? He's got a good run of games, have a good assessment, see what you really need to make a go of the championship next year. And he knows that division. He knows what's going to be taken. He knows that 3 or 4 of these superstars aren't going to be there next year. So what's he going to be? And what you'll find as well with this, it's going to be fantastic buy-in for the fans. The fans will look at this now and they'll see that, hang on, there's a bit of a project coming. It's not going to be a new face in the summer. Rob's going to be our manager or head coach next season. And that's going to get the fans on board. So they might have a couple of more shock wins before the end of the season, I think. So it's great. I tell you what it reminded me of, just to go back, flashback in history. I remember go back to the 90s when Forest got relegated and we went up to Blackburn. And Forest beat Blackburn 1-0 and it took Blackburn down with them at the same time. Forest were already relegated, but in that game it was the Ron Atkinson era. And Blackburn, I think, had to win or draw to stay up. And Forest beat them 1-0. It was just the banter in that ground, you're coming down with us kind of thing. And it was brilliant because Forest had nothing to play for, already relegated, but to take someone else down with you. And Wolves fans would have loved it last night because that could have been the game that started the rot for the title challenge. And football fans love that. They love that.
Well, they do, don't they? And that's the thing. I mean, and it's just there's a lot of negativity around Arsenal, and there has been for a while. Like, listen, friends of mine, and I'm sure friends of yours, and people you know around football have been saying they're gonna bottle it. You know, they're gonna blow it. Something's gonna happen. They're gonna get nervous. There's gonna be pressure, and I think all it does is just builds this narrative again, doesn't it? That nobody really wants them to win, and I think. I almost see like the players feel it as well. You look at the reaction of the players when they score at the end, Wolves, and that there's a lot of pointing. There's a lot of because there'll be an inquest as to why the goalie's come for that or why the defenders challenged the goalie, and it just looks they're just shaking their heads, going, "Oh my God!" And I think it just adds to the pressure. And you talk about Arsenal. There's no question, right? You've got to say Arsenal have got the best squad in the league. I mean, City have got some top players, but so have Arsenal in many different positions. But again, like, it's one thing to have the players and it's one thing to go and win it. Like, again, look at Liverpool. I'm again biased, but Liverpool in 2009, top team, couldn't get over the line. Man United have been there, done it, and then they've gone and sorted it out. Right. Last season, for a little bit, there was a challenge with Liverpool. Liverpool just pulled through because they've got the experience. Man City a couple of years ago with Liverpool as well. That goal from Vincent Kompany just gets them over the line. They've done it before. I think Arsenal, it's almost like Liverpool didn't win the league for 30 odd years. Arsenal haven't won it for a very long time either.
Right.
It's got to be in the back of their head. And these lads are young and it has to be there, right?
You said earlier, if you look at the reaction when they conceded that goal, I think the goal was in the 93rd minute. There was still 3 or 4 more minutes to play. Who was the Arsenal player that was picking people up and saying, "Come on, let's go," getting the ball, running back to the centre circle, trying to get that goal back? It was over. They all slumped to the knees. It was almost like Wembley last minute conceding a goal, and legs had gone. Everyone's got their heads in their hands, and it was over. Nobody was rallying the troops, and I guess Declan Rice is the only person that really you see doing that kind of thing. But the thing that I think is missing from the Arsenal team, who's the leader? Who's the Tony Adams, the Sol Campbell, the Patrick Vieira? Who is that in this current Arsenal team? I don't think they have it. I don't think they have it. And I think that could be the catalyst that costs them the title.
Yeah, we'll see. I still think, and I'm gonna be positive on the side of Arsenal a little bit. I still think there's a long way to go.
Oh, for sure.
11, 12 games, I think there's going to be another turn again. And again, we're talking about this, and I know City have got a game in hand, but they're still 5 points ahead. They've still got to go to City, which is going to be tough. But they've still got that little bit of a cushion, albeit it's not as big as the cushion as it was before. But
it's better to have the points than not have the points.
Yeah, true. But if it's me, if I'm in Arsenal's position, you're just hoping you can get it together and
right. But on the flip side, sometimes it's a lot easier to chase. It's a lot easier to chase.
I mean, City seem like it's almost like there's no pressure, but we'll come to City in the next little bit that we've got before we get to the fixtures. All right. So we'll go through the question again. Name the top 5 free kick takers in the history of the Premier League. Do you want to have a chance at any of them?
Oh, free kick takers. Bex has got to be in there for sure.
Okay.
I'd say Ward-Prowse.
Okay.
And Zola would be the only ones I could think of.
You're not a million miles away there, mate. Okay, so your answers are Beckham's got 18.
Okay.
Ward-Prowse has got 17. Thierry Henry, Zola, and Ronaldo. So they've got 12. But I don't think that's a bad question. That was
no.
I might have nicked that off the overlap if I'm honest, but still don't think it's a bad question. All right, we'll throw another one in before we go to our next little segment. So the question is, who holds the record for the most Premier League clubs managed? So which manager holds the record for the most Premier League clubs managed? Have a think. We'll come back to it.
I've got 3 names I'm thinking of. I've got 3.
All right, I know, yeah. Well, that's it. The merry-go-round starts. It could be any one of those 3 names. All right, okay. So next thing. So it came out today that Leicester, well, we know that Leicester got 6 points docked, right? And it's come out today that Leicester are going to appeal it. Or recently it's come out this week that Leicester are going to appeal it. I suppose the question isn't where this comes from, is what are the knock-on effects of this? Like, what are the knock-on effects of this financial fair play thing? Like, they've got a 6-point deduction mid-season, which puts them in the bottom 3, am I right?
Yeah, bottom 3.
And then you look at Everton and Forest, both got deducted points last year. But yet this whole cloud that's hanging over Man City that just, never seems to go away, but at the same time never seems to go anywhere. and develop
Right.
into anything else other than what it is, just a black cloud hanging over them. Like, what do we see about that? And my question is, I suppose, is it a bias? Is it like inconsistencies with enforcing these rules? Is it seen as like, because some people are commenting, I read an article in The Guardian, believe it or not. I know, right? But believe it or not, did read an article in The Guardian saying it's like a two-speed justice. Like, these so-called lower clubs get treated differently and they get acted on quickly. Right. Now, is that because they can't afford the legal teams that some of these other clubs have got? Or is it because it's just a case of they don't want certain teams getting trashed? Because there's two ways of looking at it, right? Like, Leicester have appealed for this. And if they win their appeal, then it'll only strengthen Man City's case, I think, a little bit, because it'll say to them, well, hang on, they appealed and they got away with X amount, so we're going to do the same. But if Leicester do get penalised, does that then give the authority back to the Premier League, where they literally say, listen, you can't do that?
Right. And I think the thing that gets me about all these kind of cases is first of all, the timing. It's the timing of the cases, because any kind of points deduction, any kind of punishment for me should be done at the end of the season, and it should be knocked on to start the next season as a negative start. Did Leicester know at the start of the season that potentially they could lose 6 points in January? Was any of that put into place, or was it a case that came out of nowhere and all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, this case has to be done within 30 days or it has to be done within a time period? Now, I get it. People are going about the City cases a lot more complex and there's a lot more issues and that kind of thing. My own personal opinion, it's not the opinion of this show or anybody else, my own personal opinion.
Let's get that out there.
Your Honor, is that I don't think anything will ever happen to Man City. And the reason I think that is because overall, who benefits from that? It's nobody. And I say that with a grain of salt because it will have a detrimental suffering to the brand, the Premier League. If a team is, found guilty, deducted points of that level, of that magnitude, relegated to a league, have titles and trophies taken away from them, that stops any kind of sponsors, outside buyers that would invest within the brand of the Premier League to gain momentum and buy into the league. Why would an American owner or a Saudi Arabian owner or an Asian owner want to come and buy in a league team and invest into the team if he is limited to what he can and can't do, and if he can't basically get them where he needs them to be? Because a lot of these owners are coming in that they're writing blank checks, basically. Chelsea did it. Man City have done it. Tottenham have done it to a certain level. Go down a division, look at Wrexham. Wrexham have been given in my opinion, the free pass, because the valuation of the club is ranked a lot more what it actually is. They're not getting massive stadium, not massive attendances or anything. Again, my own personal opinion, if they didn't have the Hollywood bracket attached to them, would Wrexham be in financial trouble? Because I'm pretty sure their numbers are a little bit fudged and a little bit smudged. But you know what? It's good for the brand of the Premier League. Why not get Wrexham in the Premier League? The Premier League would rather have Wrexham in the Premier League than a Brentford, a Bournemouth, a Brighton, probably a Forest as well, because that's better for the brand. They can sell the brand of, hey, we've got these Hollywood celebrities in there. They've got endless amounts of money to be invested in the club. So I think going back to what you said, Gaz, about the points, I think the timing of it sucks. It really does stink, because obviously I'm, not a Leicester fan by all means, but what that does to them now, it derails their season. Now, all of a sudden, they've gone from being mid-table and, a couple of wins away from pushing from a playoff to get back into the Premier League. Now they're in the relegation battle. Now they're stuck down the bottle. And now they're thinking, looking over the shoulders, thinking, well, maybe this will get appealed. Maybe it won't get appealed. Everton and Forest, when it happened to them, for the love of the games, they won enough games to get them out of trouble. And they were very fortunate, but they could have easily gone down. And is that fair? Which is why I think any kind of points deductions, you should start the season off with those points deductions.
Yeah, because it's like a planning perspective as well, though, isn't it? Like
100%.
if you know you get like Sheffield Wednesday, for example. I mean, that club's a mess, and you feel bad for the Sheffield Wednesday fans, because again, ultimately, the football fans, aren't they? If what happened to Sheffield Wednesday happened to your club, like an owner, it happened to Wigan. Wigan got an owner who didn't know anything about the club, was gambling money against the club, and Wigan ended up getting the dock points. But the thing is, you're getting them before the season starts.
Right.
And you can kind of, I mean, listen, it's horrible. It's not right, I don't think. And the only people who suffer really are the fans. But you at least can plan, can't you, for the following season?
You can budget for it. You can budget for it. You can plan, like, I mean, Sheffield Wednesday's plan, I'm sure, at the start of this season was, let's just get this season out of the way. And where are we going to be in a season's time from now? From the players, from the coaching staff, from the fans' perspective, are we still going to be in Hillsborough? What's our, long-term plan for it all? And it's just the timing of it. This is arguably the worst time for this to happen to any club, because now we're getting into the important times of the season where it is going to be relegation and promotion and all that stuff, and it just sucks.
Yeah, no, it really does. Apparently there's a 75 to 85% of the clubs in the Premier League have majority foreign ownership.
Right. And
so I mean, like to your point there, yeah, exactly. It's like that's the point, isn't it? Like there's so many clubs that are influenced by it. I'll tell you what, though, I will say this: I would happily let City give a couple of those Premier Leagues back that they nicked off us by a point over the years.
Right, United get a few as well. So I think the Spurs get one. No, Spurs never made it to second, did they?
No, they did the season that Leicester won the league. So I don't think it makes that much of a difference.
Maybe they'll make Leicester give their trophy back, and they'll say, based on this, and this. I don't. It's just. I don't think you could give trophies back. I think they can have an asterisk with it, but there's got to be. Somebody's got to be done.
It's just whether they're going to do it. The thing is, like, is this, and this is, I suppose, this is the question. I don't want to stay all day on this because it is a preview show, not a review of legal proceedings. But is this a warm up for the City case? Are they trying to see what they can get? Like, is it a Leicester going to get pinged, and then all of a sudden the attention's going to turn to City? Because there's a lot of talk about. There's a lot of speculation, isn't there? And again, if Leicester are getting punished for a couple of things, what's City going to look like if they got 115 charges on them? But it's all ifs, buts, and maybes, and like you said, I can see it getting tied up for so long that nothing really happens anyway. But we'll see what happens. Won't we? All right, listen, I'm going to move on from that. My head's hurting talking about that. I'd rather talk about football again. Although the next topic's going to hurt my head as well because it's fancy football. All right, so the question before we had is who holds the record for the most Premier League clubs managed? Who's your guess?
I had three. I was thinking, two actually. Harry Redknapp, Big Sam, and I was thinking outside maybe McLaren, but I wasn't too sure.
Okay, so the answer is Allardyce with 7. Can you name the 7?
Oh God, Everton, Bolton, West Ham, Leicester. Did he have a stint at Leicester?
Let me have a look. No.
Go on, put it up.
There's some belters, there's some belters here that you won't get. Blackburn,
Sunderland, Palace.
Have I put too many up there? There's 8 on there, isn't there? I swear Everton and Leeds. There's 8. I've got that wrong, haven't I? Messed it up. Blackburn, Bolton, Newcastle, West Ham, Sunderland, Palace, Everton, and Leeds. Yeah, it's 8. It's not even 7.
Forgot about Palace.
Shame on us.
First show. Shame on you. It was your question.
It was my question, wasn't it? That's a shocker. All right. Speaking of questions, I've got another one.
Move it on.
Yeah, I'll move it on, son. All right. Okay. Next question before the first start. The next topic. Name 5 players to have scored 5 goals in a Premier League game. 5 players to have scored 5 goals in a Premier League game. Put your phone away. Stop your Googling.
I'm writing pens down. I'm trying to get. I'm trying to
pens down. It. All right. Okay. All right. So we'll go to this. Like, as I said, we are going to have a resident fancy football expert that's going to come in every week and give us a little bit of a heads up. But for the time being, it's got the fantasy football expert, which is quite the oxymoron, is me for this week. Do you do fantasy football?
No.
Don't you?
No. When I lived in Dubai through 2010, I think it was, when Blackpool were in the Premier League, I did the Metro one and I came in like the top 5, the Metro newspaper. But I found myself just watching too many games and just watching games I didn't really care about because I wanted to see if someone could get a point and that kind of stuff. And no, I stepped back from it.
I've got a habit now. I literally won't put any Liverpool players in the team to make sure that
That was my stance. I won't put any United or Forest players in the team because of that. If they don't do well, at least you get something out of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Like, so, well, you know, it's funny. This week I had 3 Arsenal players in, but only because they had 2 games on the spin. And then I also triple captained Gabriel, and he absolutely did nothing for me. So good in the one sense because it keeps the league competitive, but bad from me. And I was doing all right as well. I'm in a couple of ones that I'm higher up the table, and yeah. But anyway, we're going to go through them anyway. The team of the week, according to the Fantasy Premier League. All right, this is what they want. This is what they're saying this week. Donnarumma for Man City, 5.6 million quid. I won't spend a lot of money on goalies, though. I don't know about other people. I don't know about that one. But
there's always one keeper every year that breaks records. Like Matt Sells last year. Pickford's always there and thereabouts.
I'd always go.
I can't pick Pickford. I can't pick Pickford. I just can't.
I rate Pickford. I think this is a topic. This will be a topic for a World Cup show, but I rate Pickford as one of England's best goalies. But
I agree. I completely agree. I just don't like him.
I think he's got good levels of banter. But I've got Nick Pope, I think, this year. But Quivine Kelleher from Brentford is another one. Cracker, saves penalties, it makes a lot of saves in games. They're the ones you've got to really look at. You want your Burnley keepers, your teams that get peppered. They've got Gabriel in again this week. They've got Spurs on Sunday. Another one who's a defender who's away from home.
That's a shout for the game of the week. That's a shout.
I know we're going to get to that, aren't we? That could be ours. I'm on the fence of what I'm going to say for that one. You've got Munoz from Palace, the fullback. You've got Mukiele. Is that how you say it? I might have butchered that. I know he's watching, so he'll probably email in. But
he's in the chat. He's in the chat.
Yeah, sorry about that, mate. But he's another one from Sunderland, 4.6 million. Cole Palmer's one of those ones for me. He's very streaky, so I just don't know if he's going to be the answer. Because he could score a hat trick, but then he could do absolutely nothing.
And then he could miss one from 2 yards out.
This one's a staple for me.
Right,
it kills me to do it. Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah.
He's on free kicks and pens, isn't he? So, and then Semenyo can't miss. Do you know what I mean? The guy can't stop scoring. He's gone to City and he's got his big payday and all the rest of it, and he's flying.
Producing.
I know. And then you've got Morgan Rogers.
Yeah, I'd say Morgan Rogers. He's had a great season.
And then another one definitely won't be going in my team, but I really, really rate him, especially the last couple of weeks, is Hugo Ekitike.
Yeah.
And then you've got João. Oh, there's 2 more. Actually, I've got one of them. João Pedro for Chelsea.
He's hit and miss, I think. He's hit and miss.
But again, streaky. But I think that's Chelsea. I think that's Chelsea in a nutshell. Yeah. Like they could batter Burnley this week, but they could also draw 1-1.
Right.
And then your last one is Thiago from Brentford, who's an absolute unit as well. Yeah. I've got him in my team.
Yeah, he scored a lot this season.
They've got Brighton at home this week as well. So that'll be some battle with him and that Van Hecker who plays at the back for Brighton. But they're your fantasy things. It'll be short and sweet this week. I can almost guarantee you that our fancy guy will be a lot more thorough than me. And that's half the reason why he's going to be the guy. So we're going to move on from that and we're going to get to the predictions now, which is actually the meat of the show. And it's took us 30 minutes to get to that point. All right, the question before, the last question of the night. Name 5 players to have scored 5 goals in a Premier League game.
I got absolutely nothing. I thought Sheringham maybe. I was going old school.
There's a classic because it's the first time it happened, and I remember this game vividly.
Did Arshavan get 5 or did he get 4?
He got 4 against us, but that was in the Champions League, I thought. Maybe not. All right, ready?
Go on, I'll kick myself.
5 players to score 5 goals in the league. Andy Cole against Ipswich for United. Not remember that? 1995.
Yeah.
Shearer, Jermaine Defoe got 5 against Wigan. Berbatov, that's the one that I didn't get. Berbatov. And then Sergio Aguero. I mean, listen, you can't have a Premier League goal-scoring quiz without him, can you? Surprised Harry Kane didn't get in there, but he just scores 2 goals every week, doesn't he, for fun?
And then goes home.
That's pretty much what it is. All right, so...
That was a good one.
It was not a bad one, that one, was it? I thought that was okay. I know. All right, okay. So the last one, we're at round 27 for predictions. Now, we'll sort of give the... We've got three categories that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about a lock of the week. Lock meaning the guaranteed winner that we think is a guaranteed winner. We've got the shock of the week, and then we've got the game of the week. So we're going to, as we go through the fixtures, we'll talk about it a little bit, and then we'll go if it's the game of the week, if it's the lock of the week, or if it's the shock of the week. So first, and this is a cracking week, to be fair, isn't it? I mean,
it's a perfect week for us to start because there's 3 or 4 games that I'm looking forward to watching, but they could go either way.
Yeah, 100%. And Saturday's games, if you're in a pub on Saturday watching these games, or if you're sat on your couch, it's a cracking day of footy, this. Okay, so your first game, 10 o'clock Saturday morning, Villa are at home to Leeds. Now, Leeds are on a little bit of a run at the moment. They're not consistently winning, but they're getting points. They're picking up points as they go. So, it's not a foregone conclusion, this, for me.
I'm going home win. Rodgers is on form at the minute. Villa are firing. They've had a little bit of a break. Because obviously they're not played in Europe this week, so they're already qualified for the knockout stages. I think Villa home win. Villa every week this season, I was waiting for Villa to fall off. They've got to crumble. They can't keep it up. They're still third, and they've still got a bit of a gap between them and United, I think.
No, I've got a soft spot for Leeds. Obviously, I've got me
Bobby.
Well, I've got my shirts on the wall, haven't I? You got a good mate of mine, Bobby Gibson, but it's also Robbie. This is a Robbie Fowler Leeds shirt. Let's just make sure that we know about that. It's not it's not someone. It's not Seth Johnson or anyone like that.
The very first time I was punched at a football game was in the family enclosure stand at Leeds United at Ellen Road. Collymore hit the crossbar from about 20, 30 yards, and I jumped up and back of the head. I was like 12, I think, at the time, or 13.
That's excellent. Leeds, and I think Leeds at home this season are a force, but I think
it's at Villa Park, right?
It's at Villa Park. I think Villa do have the edge in this one. You're right there. Brentford against Brighton is another 10 o'clock game on Saturday morning.
Draw.
You think?
Yeah.
I like Brentford this season. The way that they're absolute
Brighton. They've sold off the team and they're still competing. So it's pretty good scouting they've done there, and they've always had a good setup. Probably thought after the manager left, a lot of people thought that'd be the end of them, but no, they've held the ground and they're still doing all right. It's
funny though, isn't it? Those clubs, right? Think about clubs in the league like that. Like Bournemouth are another one. Brighton, they recruit smart.
Yeah.
But the thing is with these clubs though, it's not just over the period of time, around football, you meet certain people and you talk about the methods. Teams like Brighton, teams like Bournemouth, they don't just recruit players, they recruit managers. So, Brighton will already know who their next manager will be.
For sure.
They'll have a short list of 3 people who they're right, he's the next one. He knows exactly what's going on. But yeah, with the players, their recruitment is fantastic.
But to that point of loan, guys, aren't a lot of clubs now thinking like that? Aren't they thinking ahead of who's next and what's, apart from the big teams where it's a bit of a bigger process and stuff, but how quick do managers come into clubs now when all managers leave?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes knee jerk. I mean, you'll answer this one about Forest. I mean, that's a knee jerk, isn't it? All of a sudden you get, the guy that's running your place is an absolute lunatic, isn't he? Let's be honest.
No, he's great because he's going to get me tickets for the cup final. So
fair enough. Fair enough. I can't say it.
But even with Forest, for example, managers have left, but he's got managers lined up that are going to come in. And it's maybe a little bit different for him because he's got Olympiacos as well. So he's got a string of managers that have already coached at Olympiacos that he knows, which is what he did with Pereira. But I think there's clubs now, apart from the big ones, they've got the next 2 or 3 managers in mind who it's going to be in case they leave or in case they have to fire them. You don't see caretaker managers anymore. There used to be a time when the caretaker manager would take over. It could be the old assistant manager or, remember the guy at Blackburn, the old groundskeeper or whatever. The kit man would take over for 5 minutes.
Yeah, the kit man took over for a couple of days. It's funny.
But they get 2 or 3 games. Then a manager would be coming in place and then go from there. Now it's 24 hours, new managers announced.
Yeah. I know. Back to Brighton. There's no coincidence that Tony Bloom's blueprint. Jesus, try and say that.
You can do it.
Try and say that at 10 o'clock on a Friday night. But that blueprint, he's took that to Hearts in Scotland. And I don't think there's a coincidence, the fact that Hearts are top of the league in Scotland, albeit in a title race, but still, like, the fact that they're in amongst it is probably down to him and the people that he's brought in around him. Having said that, I still think Brentford are going to win. All
right, I'll go draw. Move it on.
All right, okay. And even though I've got the shirt behind me, I think this is my lock of the week. Chelsea at home to Burnley, 10 o'clock Saturday morning.
Come on, the Burn.
I know.
Come on, the Burn.
I have such a soft spot for Burnley. I used to go. My dad used to work with a guy that was part-time, and then he went full-time and signed for Burnley when he was like 28, 27. Right. And we used to go to Burnley in the 90s all the time. Like
Super Robbie Blake. He's a bit later than that, I think.
Robbie Blake was early 2000s. But yeah, I was there with was also Adrian Heath was playing. The player we knew was David Ayres, and he was brilliant. And he went on and played for Preston and Oldham and all around the Northwest. But I have a soft spot for Burnley, but I think Chelsea. This might be the one where Chelsea just absolutely slaps someone, and I think it's going to be this week. They'd be my lock of the week, I reckon.
Agreed. Lock it in. Lock it in, guys. Lock it in.
This, for me, this next one. So now you're at 12:30 Saturday. So you've had your breakfast, you've had a cup of tea. Now all of a sudden, West Ham.
You said in the pub. You said we'd be in the pub.
Well, I'm on the couch. I'm on the couch this week. Yeah, no. After last weekend of me wearing like a wig in the pub, I'm not going in. But yeah, West Ham, Bournemouth, 12:30 Saturday. If West Ham win this, all of a sudden your boys are getting dragged right in it if they can't get something.
Mate, I'd have Nuno back tomorrow. I think the Nuno revolution, it took a couple of games to kick in, because if you remember, he was under the cosh when he first got there. He lost 3 or 4 games, pressure was on and everything, and then he's turned it around. Nuno's a fantastic coach, just needs a bit of time, understanding to get his method across. They're the form team down there at the bottom. They are the form team down there. So yeah, I think West Ham are going to win that game, to be honest.
I know, and like we said at the beginning, right? They were dead. They were dead and buried 4 weeks ago, and now all of a sudden,
and he was the favourite to get fired. He was going to leave, and his awful decision getting him in there. Then the players start to buy into his systems, and the fans got on board. Yeah, I think West Ham are going to win that game. All
right, next one. 3 now. If you're still on your couch, if you're still in the pub at this point, fair play to you. But 3 o'clock, City Newcastle. What a game to finish the day off.
I think Newcastle are just a bit too inconsistent, aren't they? They're, on the day, they're really good, but I think they're struggling in the league a bit now. And maybe Eddie Howe's starting to look at Europe more as the main driving force to save the season. I think City are going to win that. I think it's going to be 2-1 or 3-1.
Big win in the week for Newcastle as well, isn't it? Albeit on Tuesday, but they've got it all the way back from Karabag.
Travel, they played the first team. Okay, they battered them and everything, but the first team players got involved and played the game, played the minutes. Then there's the travel, then there's a get back, and then get ready for City. I think Pep will have them fresh and they'll be ready.
It's funny, isn't it? You see, Anthony Gordon went past Alan Shearer for the most European goals for a Newcastle player. How unbelievable is that? It just goes to show you, doesn't it, how many European games are being played now.
Right.
When one of the best strikers of the Premier League has been overtaken by a lad who's been at Newcastle for how long? 2 years.
You can say about international football as well. If you got a player back in the 60s and 70s that ended up getting to 100 caps, that was some achievement. But now it's like, with all the friendlies they play and all the extra games in the tournaments and stuff, there's no surprise there's been several people over the last 10, 20 years that got 100 plus caps.
Yeah.
Move it on, guys. Move it on. We're running out of time. Move it on.
All right. Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. Okay, Palace Wolves Sunday.
I think it's going to be a draw.
Yeah.
Palace are a bit on free fall, but Wolves are, after last night, I think Wolves will be up for it.
Well, I give them a little bit of life again. It just keeps it interesting, doesn't it? It gives them. I don't think it'll be a walkover. I think Palace might win though. All right. Another shout for a possible game of the weekend, but it's a pure bias because it's basically me against you. Forest at home to Liverpool.
I think this could potentially have more ramifications than any other game this season. This weekend, sorry. If Forest win, just gives a little bit of a push, to keep them up and everything, gets that momentum and the drive going. And I think it would be really detrimental to Liverpool's season, because another defeat just puts them a little bit further behind the gap. If there was to, Chelsea and United getting wins and Villa get something as well. But on the flip side, if it goes the other way, Forest are right in it. And they're already in already, but they could go into the bottom three on goal difference. And then Liverpool, a win for them, just keeps that fight going of trying to break to the Champions League places.
Massively. I think we have to win at this point. Like, we've just got to stay, because again, we talked about at the beginning about this being like the champ. It's just streaky. Like, if Liverpool have got to carry on going, they got a great result last week against Sunderland. They did well in the FA Cup against Brighton. It's just a case of you've got to go. You have to win now at this stage. It's key.
And with Forest playing today, coming back from Istanbul, I think that they played the first team for the first hour. Fantastic result in Istanbul, but I think that they'll be a bit leggy come the second half on Sunday, and I think that Liverpool will probably just have a bit too much for them.
All right, Sunderland at home to Fulham. I think Sunderland bounce back here.
Yeah, Fulham. Marco Silva out of contract in the summer. Torquay's going to Forest, is looking at other clubs and stuff, but I think Fulham are kind of not much to play for this season. I think Sunderland home win.
Let's take that one. All right. This probably should be the game of the weekend, shouldn't it? Tottenham Arsenal, 11:30 Eastern kickoff on Sunday.
Which manager's under the most amount of pressure?
I think the new fella is just like, I'm fine. Yeah. Let's go. Let's just get on with it.
Maybe that's what they need. Don't think about who we are, what we are, and everything. But the outcome of this game for either team, if either team loses, could be their season. It literally could be their season. If Arsenal lose on Sunday, I can't remember last time they lost against Spurs, but if they lose at Tottenham on Sunday and City win, I think the wheels will fall off. I really do think they'll fall off. On the flip side, if Arsenal win and Spurs lose, they could. It's juicy, mate. It's juicy.
Could this be the game of the week? Could this be the game of the week and the shock of the week?
You're right. Probably be a draw. Probably be a draw, but it's probably got the most. The most is on the line in this game, I think, for both teams.
Think I'm going to go shock of the week. I'm going to go shock of the week Leeds and game of the week Tottenham Arsenal.
Yeah.
That'll be my. You know what? Thinking about it, even though, despite what I said earlier about Villa. All right, and then last one, Monday, Everton are playing Man United at the Hill Dickinson. Another a midweek game for the Everton.
Right.
The fans are fuming, I'm sure. All they want is a 3:00 Saturday kickoff. They haven't had it for God knows how long.
Don't we all? I
think every Evertonian. Everton are a bit up against it at the moment. O'Brien got sent off. Grealish is injured. I think every Evertonian wants to sign Andy Hinchcliffe and Duncan Ferguson to a one-day contract just so he can whip a corner in. And
get David Unsworth on there as well.
And get big Rhino on there just smashing in free kicks with his left peg. Yeah, honestly. But I think Everton are their own worst enemy at the moment sometimes. Yeah. But you know what? I think this has got to draw. Because Everton Man United is always a fiery game. And I think that stadium is... For those people who've told me about it, that stadium is proper and the noise is unbelievable. It'd be similar to Tottenham Arsenal. It's a one-off game. That Tottenham Arsenal's a one-off game. Tottenham need a point. Arsenal need to win.
I fancy United. I think Jack's been their bit of magic this season when he came in. I think Jack's been the one that literally dragged them up the league all by himself. And without him, when he doesn't play, they miss that something. There's just something missing about them. United are on form, as you know, at the minute. Carrick's got the revolution going. They're now in that position where they've just got one game a week. That's all they've got to worry about. They're out the FA Cup, no European football. One game a week. Keep those core players healthy. I think United will be too much for them, I'm afraid.
That's fair. All right, okay. Listen, well, that's our predictions and our little roundup of the week. But before we go, because I was just about to say that's us, but then I remembered the one thing.
Yes.
So what was it? John Terry's come out this week.
So there was a little bit of thing on another platform this week about John Terry versus Virgil van Dijk. Who's the better player? Everyone's got their favorite Premier League defender of all time. It could be Rio, could be Vidic, could be Jaap Stam, it could be whoever it is. But the one that came up this week was John Terry versus Van Dijk. And I think it was Jermaine Pennant and somebody on the radio show going backwards and forwards. John Terry posted something on his social media platform, basically saying that he's the better centre half. He won more trophies, and he also won the Premier League at 34 years old. So let's do a little poll this week. Who is the better Premier League defender? Is it John Terry or Virgil van Dijk?
And you can put it in the comments on here. You can put it in the comments on Instagram or Facebook. We'll put a little poll out on, I think, on the socials as well to see what we get. And then we'll give you the answer next week. I'm sure, listen, either way, we're going to piss somebody off. So, you know what, at least we'll get it on. We'll get it on the, we'll get it on the podcast.
What's your answer, guys? What's your answer before we go?
We'll go next week. Let me have a think about it.
Okay.
There's a clear bias, but, you know. From a football standpoint, you know what? I'm not even getting into it.
No. We're not even getting into it. We're out of time. So we'll save this for after the show.
Yeah, all right. Well, listen, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Chris, cheers for your time again, mate, as always. If you can, go on the socials, like and subscribe on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you get this stuff, at EPL Across the Pond. And that's us. That's Thursday. That's the EPL review show or preview show. And we'll see you next week. Nice one. Guys.